Hello, chemistry students. Today we're going to be performing our making soap saponification experiment. In this experiment, we're going to be using vegetable oil and sodium hydroxide, a strong base, to synthesize soap. Let's get started. Okay, so to start, we're going to take 10 milliliters of vegetable oil. So we have 10 milliliters of vegetable oil. We're going to add this to a 250 ml beaker. We're then going to take 10 mils of 95% ethanol or ethyl alcohol. So we have our 10 mils of ethanol. We're going to add that to our 250 ml beaker. And then we're going to add 5 milliliters of 6 molar sodium hydroxide. So we have 5 milliliters of 6 molar sodium hydroxide. We're going to add that to our 250 ml beaker. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to heat this mixture gently on a hot plate. I'm going to add a stir bar. And we're going to get this stirring. I'm using a stir bar because we need to stir throughout the entire heating process. And the last thing I'm going to add is a couple drops of green food dye. This is going to heat and stir for anywhere from probably 10 to 25 minutes or so. So I wanted to show you, it's actually quite interesting that upon heating, the green food dye actually turned red. So we'll have to see if when it cools, it will turn back to being green. And you can see we're getting some frothing. We're having that mixed. And so we'll just continue the heating process until we hit that 20-minute mark or so. So at this point, our soap has gotten fairly thick. So we're going to go ahead and turn off the heat and allow it to cool. Okay, so at this point, our soap has cooled. You can actually see it's gone back to being a green color. So we're going to add some fragrance, which is just going to be about 2 drops of vanilla extract. Give it some vanilla flavor or vanilla fragrance. We don't really want to taste the soap. Now we have our fragrance. And we're going to add 20 milliliters of hot water to our soap. We have our 20 milliliters of hot water. I'm going to add this to our soap. I'm going to stir. And we're going to be redissolving the crude soap. This is to remove any impurities from the sodium hydroxide or the glycerol. Okay, so at this point we've redissolved our soap. We now have a green liquid. And now we're going to reprecipitate the soap by adding 25 milliliters of saturated sodium chloride solution. All right, so we're going to add this 25 milliliters of saturated sodium chloride to our soap solution to reprecipitate our soap. So at this point, our soap has reprocipitated with the addition of the saturated sodium chloride solution. You can see there's two layers there. This top layer is the soap that we've made. The bottom layer is just a liquid layer. And so you could pour this into a mold and allow it to air dry and collect your soap that way. I'm going to do one additional step here, and I'm actually going to filter this soap solution. I have a piece of filter paper here. I'm going to put it in the Buchner funnel. And this way I can just drain out the solution and collect the soap in the Buchner funnel. Now our vacuum lines aren't working, so I'm actually going to be pulling a vacuum with this water bottle here. So I'll connect that. Vacuum line. Get that starting to pull, and then I'll transfer my soap into the Buchner funnel. So then we'll just vacuum this to separate the soap from the solution. Okay, so I vacuum filtered the soap. And so now you can see that our salted aqueous layer is down here. And our solid soap is inside the Buchner funnel. It actually came out a little blue instead of green. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the soap, I'm going to transfer it into probably a weigh boat and let it dry overnight. Okay, so after allowing our soap to dry out overnight that we had filtered, this is our blue soap that we made from vegetable oil, ethanol, and sodium hydroxide. And that concludes our Making Soap Saponification Laboratory. Thank you for joining me for this experiment.